Hello everybody, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault. And today we have a monster review. And the monster that we're going to take a look at today is the Giant Scorpion. Dun dun dun! Very cool looking creature, right out of a grade B science fiction movie from the 1950s or something. Awesome creature. From the original Monster Manual, as brought to us for use with Basic Dungeons & Dragons and Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, or what's typically called 1E today. So, this is another mundane creature from the more than 100 mundane creatures that grace the pages of the original Monster Manual, which has over 350 total entries. Mundane creatures are an awful lot of fun. And one should remember that you don't necessarily have to have a magic creature in order to have a good encounter with your adventuring party. Now, the Giant Scorpion is a large scorpion, which in this case means that it's roughly man-sized, so about a 6-foot scorpion, which would be enough to scare the crap out of me, I can tell you that right now. And they have 2 attacks with their claws. Each of those are for 1 to 10 hit points each. That's pretty nice. And they also have, of course, the Sting attack. That only does, I think it's either 4 or 6 points of damage maximum, but of course you have to save versus poison or immediate death. Now, these creatures are able to sting. If they have you in their claws, they can sting you once per round. There's no limit. They keep trying. You keep dying. Now, giant scorpions look really cool. I mean, they're fearsome looking. Like I said, they look like something right out of a movie, a horrible movie. And, of course, they can show up in groups. Now, these are not lightweight creatures. They're 5+5 hit dice. 5+5. So, not easy to deal with. And they have a 3 armor class, which is pretty respectable, all things being equal. If you run into them, they typically are 1 to 4, at least from a standpoint of wanderings, as it shows in the rules or in the entry. And 1 to 4 of these would be a lot. Even 1 could be pretty nasty depending on the circumstances. They move a bit faster than a human, which makes this even more fraught. And no, they don't have any special defenses. So magic works on them, regular weapons work on them. But once again, that 3 armor class and 5+5 hit dice, and that's a maximum of 45 hit points. That's really impressive. Of course, they're animal. They're not intelligent. They're neutral. They really are just looking to get fed. And humans may be a little bit bigger than what they typically would go after prey-wise, something as big as themselves. Unfortunately for us, dwarves, we're kind of like the perfect size. Same with hobbits, even elves. Go for the elves. Definitely go for the elves. But we would make a good meal, hate to say it, for a giant scorpion. Now, once again, other than the fact that this is giant size, so I guess it's the victim of gigantism, it's a pretty much standard creature. But because it's writ large, this is a very dangerous creature, and then certainly in groups, and I've used these in larger groups than 1 to 4. I think I've used up to a dozen in a group before. They're quite a handful. They're not smart, so they may continue to attack. They also may be really stupid in the sense that you only have to like wave fire at them and they might run away. Now, they don't like fire. Most bugs don't. But they're not the kind of creature that you're going to run into very often. That, of course, is up to your DM and how they want to set it up as an encounter. Now, as dwarves, running across giant scorpions, it's not a common thing for us. I wasn't able to find any examples of us in the current world running across giant scorpions. Now, the gaming world, of course, is very different, and we went out to the greater Hornhelm community and said, well, what about the giant scorpion? As DMs, players, have you ever used this before, run into it before? DMs have used it a few times before. Also fans of B movies from the 1950s, science fiction movies, and they found them to be a lot of fun. In talking with the DMs about it, they said, "Hey, this is actually rated a bit higher than I would have thought," but they thought about a 4. I still think that's a little bit high. I'd probably go 3.5 to 4, but I think that's pretty close to being spot on. And in talking to the players out there who had run into them, they said a 4 to a 5. And the 5 was mainly people who'd run into them in larger groups because of the amount of damage they could do. They can technically take on up to 3 different characters at the same time, one with each claw and a separate sting. That's pretty interesting. At least they don't have to focus everything on one opponent. So, a very challenging, normal creature. It's not a giant scorpion in the sense that it's 20 feet long or something like that. With it being 6 feet long, these should be manageable. But they potentially can have a fair number of hit points. And with that low armor class of only 3, they're going to make a pretty nifty encounter, especially for a lower level group. So that, my friends, is the giant scorpion. We hope you found today's presentation to be interesting, amusing, educational, all that kind of good stuff. If you did, please be so kind as to leave us a like. Consider subscribing if you haven't. Drop us a comment. Share with your friends. But most of all, come back and see us again real soon. Thank you so much for your kind support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!